Thanks a lot for coming in.
Good morning, happy to be here.
Something about this community appeals to you?
This is a wonderful place to live.
For Kelowna Now, this is Camp Mulgat. And we're joined by Santa Tom Kliner on a little bit of time off. I see you're wearing red, but not the full regalia.
No, I like to wear the red once in a while, and just got a little bit of advertising on it for me too. And this way, when I'm hanging out at Walmart and Costco and stuff, the parents know it's okay for the kids to say hi.
Right. So people have gotten used to seeing you at the big light up in Kelowna every year.
Yep, big light up in Kelowna,
and
always.
And so you have been playing the role of Santa in Kelowna for how long now?
About 19 years now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did it all get started? I mean, I guess you have the look. And even back then in 2001, your persona was the same. You had a white beard even?
No, the beard wasn't white, and it's still not white completely.
Right.
I've been bleaching it for quite some time now.
But you had the beard.
I've always had the beard. I've had the beard since I was about 15. Excuse me. And over the years, it's been very interesting. As we were talking earlier, I said that when I was in school, a lot of kids thought I was the teacher on call because I looked a lot older. I was actually the youngest one because I have a December birthday.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. I've had people cross the street when they've seen me coming with my big black beard and whatnot. And now that we bleach it and do Santa, those same people come and bring their children to me.
Then I'm not afraid of you anymore.
No, still the same guy too.
But you do get some kids that are afraid of you. When you're in that role and people are bringing their kids up to see Santa, what's that like? I guess some kids see you and they do have that kind of, who is this guy?
Yeah, that's usually between about 1 and 3 years. The first year and stuff, the kids are totally trusting in their parents, obviously. And then when they start to look around and start to see things and they wonder and, honestly, we tell our kids and stuff to stay away from strangers. And they've never met Santa. And if you look at the animal world, they make themselves look bigger by putting their hair on and putting it up.
Right.
And that's when they come in, they look all the way up, and it's just large because, they're only 2 feet tall, 3 feet tall.
Large and all that hair around your face, so it can throw some kids off.
Absolutely. But then later, when they start to figure out what Santa's about or Christmas is about, then they start running up with all kinds of ideas.
Yeah. So, you must get a real charge of it, all those cute little faces looking up at you, truly believing in what's happening in that moment?
Absolutely. It is the most fun you'll ever have. What I do like about it is those big wide open eyes, and the kids think, they're just got all kinds of things going on in their minds. The world's new, it's still a good place.
Yeah.
And it's just a ton of fun.
So what's the strategy? The kid comes up there, hopefully you've had a chance, or Mrs. Claus has had a chance to get an idea what they might be asking for ahead of time, but how do you approach it kind of strategically in terms of what you're going to say?
Well, usually I try to, start a little bit of a warm-up conversation. How old are you, which school, or, what have you been doing, or something like that, and then I'll get into more of what do they like. I don't usually ask them directly what they want. I ask them what they like to do, so if they're, more sports-minded or getting into, like dance or, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to kind of draw out little things about what they might like, and then I usually, quite often I should say, tell them, remember Santa doesn't bring everything,
right?
But I like a good list so that I have something to choose from, and that way you'll get something that you like.
Is there a mom nearby sometimes looking over their shoulder, giving you a nod or anything?
Oh yeah. They give me nods, they bring me notes, they tell me what I can promise them, not promise them. Of course, I have a lot of my friends bring their kids, so I know a little bit about the family and what the kids do, and it's good to know different things. Nothing specific, like Santa never needs to know the child's address.
Right.
All I need to know is that you have some decorations up and that you may be near the school or where you're going to be.
Right.
And, of course, if you've been good, I'll be able to find your decorations, and I have your note, and I'll be checking it over.
There must be some tough moments with kids coming up asking for things that nobody can do for them.
Absolutely, and I've been brought to tears a couple times. One in particular, I remember my Mrs. Claus was working with me, and she works with me quite often now. Which is very good. We've been together a long time, so you just kind of read off each other.
Yeah.
And she saw what was starting to happen when this child came up and sat with me and asked to be cancer-free. And it wasn't too long after we had lost one of our own kids. And she saw me breaking down, and she diverted everything and gave us time to work on it. Matter of fact, I'm starting to get a little bit emotional about it now.
Yeah.
And there's other kids, that have brought me like cards that they want me to drop off at a siblings that have passed away recently, and they think that Santa has magic to go and see them and bring them a gift and say hi, and asking for parents to come home or not fight, stuff like that. There's a fair bit of that, but not as much as you would think, and I think that's a good thing.
But it's a chance, I suppose, for you to maybe give some comfort.
It is, definitely, and that's another thing where you have to be really careful and not promise a lot. You have to just try to be very understanding and make sure that the kids know that you care, but also that they don't expect you to fix it.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of getting fixed, you went through something yourself where you're a motorcycle enthusiast.
absolutely.
But it didn't go too well last year. You were in a bad
Yeah,
crash.
a lot of people have seen me around town with my big red motorcycle and the St. Nick license plate, and we call it Vixen and stuff. But last September, we were just about taken out completely, and so last Christmas I was just able, through a lot of struggling and a good team working with me to get me better, that I was just able to do Santa. And again, talking about my Mrs. Claus, she basically had to do everything for me at that
Right.
point. I couldn't drive, I couldn't do a lot of my own personal care and stuff like that. And I was pretty much a prop last year.
Right.
But we did make it. We cut the schedule back quite a bit. But there's no way I could give it up. There's just absolutely,
Yeah, and you're still feeling the effects of that crash.
I am, and apparently for quite a while yet. So we don't know what the prognosis is yet. Or, but
You look pretty good. You look pretty good, right?
Yeah,
You're
well-
moving around, right?
Yep. But there's still a lot of stuff that they tell me is going to be quite some time before it's fully healed. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been interesting times for the world of Santas in the Okanagan lately. I take it another professional Santa who
Yes, I do.
wound up losing his job over a bit of silliness that took place on his own time, where, I think there was one photo where he had a flask and another where he was being just a little bit playfully suggestive in a photo or something.
Yeah.
This gets out, fired.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, I try to not to weigh in on the too much about how I feel about it, but it was definitely done in fun. He knew both the women. I know the flask was closed, but it's kind of unfortunate we're in a world now where everybody feels they have the right to be offended and that those rights trump other people's.
Yeah.
It was on his own time. It was not anywhere near where he works, and you know what? We don't even know if the person that complained has children.
Right. I'm sort of sensing from what you're saying that you think that losing his job was too big of a response for what happened.
I think it's definitely overkill, yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, is it sobering for you? Is it a reminder for you? I know you're pretty careful about how you conduct yourself, knowing that you have this persona. But is it yet another reminder that you never know who's watching what?
Well, absolutely, and it is something you do have to realize. You are, in a sense, a public figure. You have put yourself on display, and you have to be very careful with a lot of the things that you do because there are a lot of varied opinions out there. Generally, Santa is pretty free to do what he likes, but you do have to be careful with your hand placements, things that you say to kids and
Wait a
stuff
minute,
like
hand
that.
placement. So this is in the moment when you're being Santa and people are putting a kid on your lap.
Yep.
You were saying you keep your hands in view.
Keep your hands in view. Keep your fingers open, and you can't even close them because it looks like they maybe
Why
touch
does
them.
it sadden me to hear that? But
It's unfortunate the way we've become, and I don't know where people get some of their ideas from, and it isn't much difference than a lot of people thinking that how many times I get peed on. Well,
yeah.
kids are wearing diapers. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
You seriously haven't been peed on?
No,
Never.
no.
There you go. There's a myth buster. When you first worked as a Santa, it was in the mall yourself, right? That was your initial, and that was after you.
I had quit a job in haste.
Yes.
The manager and I had a disagreement, and I left. So I needed a job. I saw the ad in the paper. I didn't really know what it was. And a little while later, I got a phone call to come in, and I wasn't sure I wanted to do it because my wife had made me do it a few years before.
It made you play the role of Santa.
Yeah.
At like a family function?
Well, family function, and when we used to have our service station, she had me being the public guy waving on the street, and I didn't really like it much. Even though I've always had a beard, but it was very, very black at that time.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went in. It turns out I knew the woman who was looking after the Santa at the time, and she was a great gal. I still see her and her husband all the time. And of course, she already knew who I was and what I was like, so she hired me. And the second year, I actually took the job completely. We had shared it the first year,
Right.
and I just fell in love with it. And my wife actually thought I was nuts at the time because I was getting consumed by it.
Yeah.
And so I took the job on myself, like entirely, the next year, and totally loved it. But then the third year came, and they had a new person, and we couldn't agree on a lot of things. So very upset. On November 29th, I remember leaving. I hadn't actually started,
Okay.
but I just couldn't. There was just no way I could do it. And so I ended up going on my own. And it turns out that was actually the best favor ever, because since then I've been doing all kinds of things, been able to have my wife work with me, my
Right.
kids work with me, and
So now your gigs are more varied and different, and it's just not the same old mall thing.
yep.
And so since you started, I guess, is that the real color now? It's coming in nice?
No, it's this is more the real
Okay.
color, because
So
I haven't been able to do this since the accident.
Okay. So you have to dye it to get it a more uniform white?
Yeah, I have to bleach them. The sides are getting nice and white now, but
Yeah.
still the center's a little dark. So
So has it changed? Has Santa changed Tom? Has all that time talking to children and being in that role, has it changed you?
absolutely.
In what way?
Well, excuse me, I don't know if I can describe it, but life used to be just kind of general and doing what we did and all that kind of stuff. And now I definitely, like we talked about the Sound and Penticton, I definitely have to be a little more careful about what I do when I'm out in public and stuff like that. And you can't be, not that I ever did, but I mean, you can't be getting obnoxious, or you don't want to be seen stumbling out of somewhere, or Christmas parties that, the notorious
you
ones you
kind
always
of keep
hear
your
about.
behavior in under control.
Yeah.
But on the inside, all that contact with kids, is it sort of, it probably has a positive effect on you.
Yeah. It's more of the consciousness of what you're doing, more than anything, because that's, like I said, that was none of the things I've ever done before anyway. But it's just, I don't know. It's so it's overwhelming and very enlightening to see the world back through the child's eyes, and you get to see what you now take for granted, and they see as brand new, and the world is still a good place.
Right.
And
You
that's
get a
pretty
charge
awesome.
out of it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming and talking to us about it.
Thanks,
Santa
Kim.
Tom Kliner. Look for him near a Christmas tree near you. And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.